On December 25th, 2015 AD, war between robots and humans erupted, wiping out half of the Earth's population. Amongst the ruins stood one person, half machine, half man, 100% weeaboo. He began a game review show on the internet. His name was Tofu the Survivor, and this is his legend.
Howdy, y'all. It's the Tofu Game Time 2025 Christmas Special. Y'all can come in now.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, everybody! Ah, just kidding, it's just me. Hey, everybody, what's up? Don't you guys just love the holiday season? How everybody cares about each other just a little bit more than normal, and, they do each other favors and give each other gifts and love, unlike other parts of the year. But, unlike those people, I think my favorite part of Christmas is definitely going to be PSX Santa. Now, you might ask, who is PSX Santa? But PSX Santa is in fact just like regular Santa Claus, except for he only brings you PSX games. And I am fortunate enough to, get visited by him every year, and only him. But let's just go ahead and take a look at what PSX Santa brought me this year. Oh man, ooh, I'm stoked. A classic in sports gaming, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I'll just set these to the side. What comes next? None other than Gundam Battle Assault, a fighting game classic for fans of Gundam. That is for sure, I know that. Ooh, next up, I feel a dual case. It is, a black label copy of Metal Gear Solid. This is a must-own for the PSX, or PS1, depending on which system you own. The next game, I can reach in here and find it. Oh man. Another classic, black label edition of Final Fantasy VII. A masterpiece for its time. Going on in, we have, none other than Lunar Silver Star Story Complete, a fantastic game by Working Designs. Excellent title. Next up on the list, I feel 2 games left. We're going to have oh shit, okay, wrong game. Okay. Last game. Here it is, everybody. Today's game is Einhänder.
There was a time in the era of great chaos when the Earth and the Moon were at war with each other. A daredevil from the Moon piloted a bizarre aircraft. It was feared, and because of its shape, called Einhänder.
The introduction FMV to this game still gives me chills down my spine to this very day. There is nothing that isn't cool about a giant spaceship flying around a futuristic cityscape, destroying everything it can while avoiding a barrage of gunfire. A large blue robot shows up, and he shows you that he's there for business with his glowing red eyes, and then, to show you that he's even more there, he pulls out a laser rifle, and that is just the beginning of this game. This game goes from a bang to a loud boom. It is Einhänder for the PlayStation 1.
So people always ask me, what is Einhänder? Because I always bring it up a lot. And I tell them, Einhänder is a masterpiece that is not talked about enough for the PlayStation 1. It is the brainchild of all tricks Squaresoft learned at the time to make Final Fantasy VII. Every little graphical trick and nuance that they learned to make that masterpiece was poured into this spaceship shooter that came right after. And I can tell you, it is one hell of a game, and it needs to be talked about more. But don't let what I'm saying right now influence your opinion about it. We're just going to go ahead and roll some gameplay so I can show you exactly why Einhänder is such a fantastic game.
At the start of this game, you have 3 different ships you can select from, one having 3 gun pods and 1 machine gun, meaning you can switch between 3 different weapons, the other having 2 machine guns and only 1 gun pod, but you can raise and lower the weapon from top to bottom. You'll see what I mean when I talk about that later. But my favorite ship is the one that has 2 gun pods and 1 machine gun, but you can use 2 gun pods at once, and I will always forever play as that ship, due to the variety of gameplay that you can actually accomplish with it. And the first level just begins with a bang as you are being pursued by what I'd classify as cannon fodder ships that present no actual threat provided you can move around and avoid their shots, and a couple other ships that carry a little bit more armor and some weapons for you to pick up, but that only makes this part better, where you just endlessly fire at a sea of them as they charge at you to their death. It's just like they want to die. They are asking, please, Einhänder, shoot me to death. And then we have overtones of electronic music as you start going down this, I guess, vertical spot right here, because you go from forward to down. You'll quickly notice that now the camera angle has switched to an almost behind the ship position, just really showcasing that this game wants to be something different. It wants to be not 3D and not 2D, but it wants to be 2.5D, as it just immerses you in the feeling of actually destroying neon signs in a futuristic utopia because of what these signs have done to your family. No, that's not actually part of the gameplay, but I made that up. But if it were, those signs would be sorry. Then the first mid-boss of this game shows up, and he starts screaming crazy German at you right from the very beginning, and you have no idea what he is saying unless you speak fluent German. And he wants to shoot you down because you destroyed his neon signs. There is a vast variety of different weapons you can pick up, from Vulcan miniguns to spread shot guns, laser blades, cannons, homing missiles. A lot of different things that are just really fun to play with, and switching them from the top to the bottom of your ship gives them a different effect for the most part, with the Vulcan having an arched downward shot if it's on the bottom of your ship, and on the top it has a straight forward shot. So, you know, you can really play around with a lot of different weapons and see what they do when you move them from top to bottom. Another cool one is when you move the missile from the bottom, it goes from straight shooting missile that is more powerful to a smaller, less damaging missile that homes onto targets in the foreground and background. It's times like this when we need to remember that including more cannon fodder in spaceship shooters is a good thing for everybody's life.
The one-handed mechanic in Einhänder of just grabbing weapons from enemies is great. It's fun, because there's 3 different ships you can pilot, and each one has their little way of handling, you know, picking up different gun pods, whether it's, you know, the one that holds 3, or the one that uses 2 at once, or the one that switches between up and down and fires 2 machine guns. Just playing around with the different ships is fun.
Couldn't you just feel the terrifying presence of this boss as he came rolling up to you in this dark cave, screaming at you in German? Really, it makes you feel like you're in trouble and that there is a real boss in the room with you. And you're going to die a lot.
So once you get past basic gameplay, the bosses you'll find are just a treat to fight, especially because they're kind of built in layers. It's almost like a treasure boss, you know, like how you fight bosses in games like Gunstar Heroes and Dynamite Headdy, and they're built in layers. Like, they're fun to fight. They're challenging, but like, you know, there's just something that makes them really attractive, especially when they're built to be like very unique for each level.
You won't be dying from bosses all the time, though. A lot of my deaths in this game on the hardest difficulty do come from the very standard enemies. Not the cannon fodder enemies that take one shot to kill, but more or less some of the enemies that you destroy in layers. And there will be a lot of them on screen at once. I'm not saying this is bad. I'm saying that I welcome this challenge, but the bosses aren't all the beef in this game. Because Square at the time put a lot of thought into thinking about how many ways they could exactly punish the player without subjecting them to a mid-boss or a level boss. There are just some things you do in this game that make you feel good about yourself once you actually achieve them. One of my favorites being catching this guy on fire after shooting him 1,000 times and then watching him fall to his death.